Take this clip from Nature is Scary on Twitter, posted Monday, which claims to show a 50-foot anaconda moving through a Brazilian river. I'll admit, it's absolutely chilling. Hearing legends about massive creatures is one thing. Seeing something so enormous that it makes reality feel unstable is something else entirely. We gathered 27 jaw-dropping moments, from a 32-foot python launching itself toward a cameraman to a giant snake discovered living inside a garage. The world is slowly waking up to a disturbing reality. Enormous snakes aren't just myths or jungle stories. They exist, and they are much closer to human life than most people want to believe. Some of them stretch longer than a school bus. Some weigh as much as a compact car. Some move silently through rivers, while others slither through villages, along highways, and straight into homes. These are real encounters, captured on video, witnessed firsthand, and almost impossible to comprehend. Today, you're about to witness some of the largest serpents ever recorded on camera. The 32-foot python. At a quiet construction site in Malaysia, workers came across a massive 32-foot python weighing close to 400 kilograms. The animal was so large it resembled a moving tree trunk more than a snake. One cameraman, clearly shaken but unwilling to stop, began recording. The camera traced the length of the creature's body, sliding over coil after coil until it finally reached the head. It was as wide as a man's chest, its eyes fixed forward with an unsettling intensity. Without warning, the enormous python suddenly lunged toward the camera. The footage cuts off at that moment, and what happened next remains unknown. The python in the trees. It's not only magpies people need to be wary of in Manly during this season. One morning, residents glanced upward and were left stunned. High above them, a huge python was slowly climbing a tall tree, its heavy, muscular body wrapped tightly around the branches like a scene pulled straight from a wildlife documentary. The sight immediately raised questions. Why was a python so high off the ground? Was it hunting a bird's nest, searching for eggs, or simply positioning itself to survey the area? Whatever the reason, the snake moved with calm confidence. Each coil tightened against the back, every motion slow, controlled, and deliberate. As it climbed, the branches bowed under its weight, turning the moment into something that felt more like a horror film than a quiet suburban morning. People gathered below, frozen in disbelief, while the snake continued upward, completely unfazed by the attention. Its body was thick as a firefighter's hose, and so long it vanished into the leaves above. Elegant, powerful, and deeply unsettling, the python was a stark reminder that in Australia, danger doesn't only swoop down from above. Sometimes it's already there, hidden in the trees, watching in silence. Would you risk walking beneath it, or would you turn around and head straight back inside? Massive suturies. When torrential rains hit rural Brazil, rivers overflow, and sometimes the rising water brings more than just debris. One homeowner learned the terrifying way when he stepped into his backyard and froze at what he saw. A giant sucuri, an anaconda so thick it resembled a drifting tree trunk, was moving silently through the flooded grass near his animals. If you know these predators, you know how serious that situation is. Anacondas don't just go after large prey. They'll easily take chickens, goats, or anything else unlucky enough to be nearby. The danger was real, but what happened next surprised many people. Instead of running or trying to scare it off, the homeowner called wildlife authorities. A trained rescue team arrived shortly after and carefully secured the massive snake with ropes, slowly guiding it back toward its natural habitat. Not because the animal was evil or aggressive, but because a full-grown sucuri doesn't belong near homes. Keeping it there would have put both the people and the snake at risk. The Bledo python. What was meant to be a normal walk near a peaceful farm in Bledo, South Africa, turned into something unforgettable. As a person filming followed a familiar trail across a grassy slope, he suddenly stopped. Lying ahead wasn't a fallen branch or a dark log, but an enormous python stretched across the ground like a thick, glossy black cable. Its skin was deep black and reflective, the kind of color seen only on old, powerful snakes. Its body was visibly swollen, the belly tight and rounded, clearly full from a recent meal. Whatever it had eaten was large enough to leave the snake resting openly in daylight, completely unbothered. For a few seconds, the man filmed in silence, stunned that a creature of this size was calmly settled on the hillside as if it owned the land. Then the python moved. Slowly, it turned its head and seemed to notice the camera. That was enough. Without warning, the massive snake slid away with surprising speed, flowing through the grass like a dark current. There was no sign of aggression or fear, just smooth, effortless strength. Moments later, the hillside was quiet again, leaving a clear reminder behind. In Africa, even the calmest places can suddenly put you face to face with something truly massive. The giant python lifted by crane. What began as a routine day at a construction site took a shocking turn when the crane hoisted something far more terrifying than soil or scrap. Dangling from the steel arm was an enormous python, suspended in the air, writhing and coiling as if pulled from a forgotten age. Work across the site stopped instantly. The snake was unbelievably thick, its body resembling a massive tree trunk. Even with the crane raised high, its tail nearly touched the ground below. Witnesses guess it stretched more than 8 meters long and weighed enough to bend or crush heavy metal pipes. Some workers stood frozen, unable to process what they were seeing. Others grabbed their phones, desperate to record evidence that a creature of this size was real. For a brief moment, the entire site went quiet, broken only by the wind and the slow, swinging movement of the giant serpent. No one knows exactly where the python came from or how long it had been hidden beneath the site. But the scene made one thing painfully clear. When nature reveals its true giants, even powerful machines look insignificant. The monster in the ceiling. In a jaw-dropping video, a man noticed an odd hole forming in his ceiling. Curious and unaware of what waited above, he grabbed a ladder and climbed up to inspect it. What he discovered stopped him cold. A full-grown snake was coiled inside the ceiling cavity as if it had been living there for weeks. He reached up and grabbed the snake by the tail, trying to pull it down. The moment he did, the ceiling gave way. A large section collapsed, dumping dust and debris into the room, and exposing just how massive the snake really was. The reptile exploded into motion, thrashing violently and hissing as its scales caught the light. Most people would have run. He didn't. Instead, he stood his ground, lunged forward, and managed to seize the snake by the head. Against all odds, he dragged the entire creature out of the ceiling and onto the floor, ending a nightmare that had been hiding just inches above his head. The river monster Bonito. A group of wildlife researchers slowly floated down the Bonito River, drawn there by repeated stories of a massive anaconda that ruled those waters. On the surface, the river looked calm and inviting, but everyone on the boat understood that something enormous could be lurking just beneath them. Suddenly, movement broke the stillness. Bushes along the riverbank shook. Branches parted. A long, dark shape slid into view and eased toward the water. That's it. That's the one. The team rushed to intercept the snake on land, but the anaconda didn't react with fear or panic. Instead, it slipped smoothly through the foliage and disappeared beneath the surface, vanishing as quietly as it arrived. It wasn't fleeing. It was simply moving away, as if reminding them who truly belonged there. Most crews would have stopped right there. This team didn't. They geared up with wetsuits, masks, and gloves and prepared to enter the river alongside the giant. One by one, they slipped into the water, moving slowly and deliberately, scanning the clear depths below. Then they saw it. The anaconda drifted along the riverbed, massive and calm, thicker than a man's leg, moving with effortless control. There was no aggression, no sudden motion, just raw power wrapped in complete confidence. When the moment came, the team moved carefully. With a single coordinated motion, they secured the snake's head, firm enough to stay safe but gentle enough not to distress it. What surprised everyone was how little resistance it gave. 2 grown adults held onto the enormous anaconda as if they were guiding a cooperative patient, not wrestling a predator. It followed them calmly all the way back to the boat. Once aboard, they covered its head, not as restraint, but to keep it relaxed while they took measurements. The results were staggering. 19 feet long, 300 pounds of solid muscle. It was like trying to lift multiple sacks of cement that could move on their own. It took 3 men just to raise it, and even then, they weren't sure it fully left the deck. After documenting everything, the team did exactly what responsible researchers should. They returned the anaconda to the river, releasing it gently back into the water. The giant slipped away without hesitation, disappearing into the depths once more, calm, unharmed, and completely in control of its domain. The 8-meter Malaysian giant. Malaysia has seen its share of giant snakes, but this one defied all expectations. At a bustling construction site, workers froze in disbelief as they spotted something utterly out of place amid the steel beams and concrete, a colossal python, stretching nearly 8 meters long and weighing around 250 kilograms. To put that in perspective, that's heavier than 3 grown men combined, all in one living, breathing serpent. A small team struggled just to lift the massive snake off the ground, and even then, its thick, powerful body resembled a fallen tree trunk more than an animal. This wasn't just a large snake, it was a creature of legend in the making. Tragically, Despite careful handling, the python passed away just 3 days after its discovery, most likely due to the stress of being captured. Had it survived, it might have claimed the title of the longest python ever recorded in the world. Even now, the story of this Malaysian giant lives on, a striking reminder how rare, mysterious, and fragile nature's true giants can be. Village of Giant Snake. Every village has its legends, but that morning, one of them seemed to come to life. The locals froze as a massive snake, longer than anything they had ever imagined, glided smoothly along the open paths between homes. Its enormous body coiled and uncoiled with slow, deliberate strength, each ripple moving like a flowing river. There was no panic, no aggression, just a giant serpent on a casual stroll, as if the village belonged to it and the people were the intruders. It drifted purposefully through the streets, serene and unhurried, leaving everyone in awe. And then the question settled over the village like a shadow. Was this a rare, once-in-a-lifetime sighting, or had this colossal reptile been living nearby all along, silently watching, waiting, and only now revealing itself? The Banong Pyth. A team of wildlife researchers drifted slowly along the Benito River, chasing rumors of a massive anaconda set to patrol these waters. The river looked serene, yet everyone on board knew something enormous might be lurking beneath the surface. Suddenly, movement rustled through the bushes. Branches shook. A long shadow slid toward the riverbank. There it was. They attempted to catch the snake on land, but the giant simply slipped through the foliage and disappeared underwater, silent and effortless. It wasn't scared. It wasn't alarmed. It simply moved away, as if reminding everyone who truly ruled the river. Most teams would have called it a day, but these researchers had a plan. They suited up, wetsuits, masks, gloves, ready to meet the calm yet confident river giant in its element. Moving carefully, they scanned the clear water below. Then they spotted it, a massive anaconda, thicker than a man's leg, gliding peacefully along the riverbed. No aggression, no strikes, just a calm, powerful creature going about its day. When the moment came, the team moved smoothly, securing its head, firm enough to stay safe, gentle enough not to disturb it. The amusing part? 2 grown men holding this massive, gentle beast, as if escorting it to a spa appointment. Without struggle, it let them guide it toward the boat. On board, they covered its head, not to restrain it, but to keep it calm while they measured it. The results were staggering. 19 feet long, 300 pounds of pure muscle. Lifting it was like trying to move 3 cement bags with a mind of their own. Even then, they weren't sure it left the ground entirely. Once the data was collected, the team acted like true professionals. They released the snake gently, letting it slide back into the river, unharmed, returning the peaceful giant to its home. The roadside GI. And, on a quiet stretch of highway in Brazil, drivers were stunned by a sight that made everyone pause. A massive anaconda sprawled boldly across the road. With traffic approaching, a group of locals quickly sprang into action. Gently looping a rope around the snake, they guided the enormous reptile toward the safety of the nearby bushes. Despite its immense size, the anaconda remained calm, neither aggressive nor stressed. Slowly and carefully, the team led the snake, ensuring every coil of its long body safely cleared the asphalt. Finally, once the anaconda was fully hidden among the greenery, the rope was removed, and the roadside giant returned safely to its home. The manhole monster of Benito, Br. Azul. In the quiet town of Benito, Brazil, maintenance workers lifted a manhole cover expecting a routine job, but what they found stopped them in their tracks. Coiled calmly inside the dark opening was a giant green anaconda, nearly 6 m long, almost 20 feet. The massive snake lounged there as if it owned the spot, showing no aggression, no hissing, not even a twitch. Workers immediately called local authorities to relocate it safely. But before help arrived, the gentle giant slowly uncoiled and slipped silently into another tunnel, vanishing as quietly as it had appeared. Hopefully, it found a new, peaceful place to rest, far from traffic, tools, and startled humans. The python who thought the roof was home. Australia is known for beaches, kangaroos, and occasional wildlife surprises, but nothing quite like this. One Queensland family got the ultimate unexpected guest, a massive carpet python casually stretching across their roof. Its body was so long it disappeared behind the trees and reappeared on the other side. Surprisingly, the family stayed calm. No screams, no rushing indoors, almost as if the serpent were a familiar neighbor dropping by for a visit. The python moved with slow, deliberate grace. Its tail dangled over the gutter while its head peeked around the corner, seemingly surveying the neighborhood. Finally, it slithered toward a nearby tree and vanished into the bush, leaving the family with a story that felt part nature documentary, part surreal encounter. Australia's most unexpected roommate. At a family residence, Robbie Neal stumbled upon a massive python, over 9 feet in length, stretched across the garage rafters as if it had been living there rent-free for years. The snake, dubbed Egg, had been feeding on anything in sight, including a baby bird Robbie had been caring for. The sight was remarkable. The python's thick coils draped along the ceiling, completely relaxed, as though the house belonged to him. When Robbie first attempted to remove Egg, he used a long broom to loosen the enormous coils, then gently pulled the tail to guide him downward. After some effort, he finally managed to place Dirk safely into the bushes behind the house, but the serpent made it clear he had no plans of leaving permanently. On chilly days, he returns to the roof like a giant reptilian Spider-Man, stretching across the tiles to sunbathe, indifferent to human watchers. One afternoon, Robbie decided to measure Dirk while he rested on the garage roof. Following the snake coil for coil, he realized Dirk wasn't merely a visitor. He was a permanent tenant claiming more space. Today, the python roams the garage, roof, and walls freely, exploring every corner. The family has grown accustomed to sharing their home with a creature that treats it as a personal spa, buffet, and playground. Dirk's daring habits are a constant reminder that, in Australia, wildlife doesn't just visit, it moves in. The 15-foot Texas driveway python. In a normally quiet South Garland neighborhood in Texas, residents got an unexpected shock when they noticed something slithering across a stretch of grass. A massive 15-foot python moved casually toward a driveway, as if it owned the street. At first, it seemed almost too relaxed. But when it approached a parked white truck, the situation became serious enough for someone to call an animal handler. He arrived swiftly, but seeing the snake in person made him pause. This wasn't a small or average python. Weighing 85 pounds, it was a true power haze, and his equipment looked tiny in comparison. Yet he didn't hesitate. For nearly 2 hours, he carefully wrestled, adjusted, and planned each move, respecting the enormous strength of the serpent. Neighbors watched from a safe distance, hoping it wouldn't slip into a backyard or garage. Finally, through patience and skill, the handler secured the giant snake safely without harming it or anyone nearby. It was a dramatic Texas encounter, ending with everyone breathing a sigh of relief. Giant anaconda inver. During a quiet evening stroll in a small rural town, a local man froze in surprise. His usual walking path had been claimed by an extraordinary visitor. A giant anaconda sprawled across the grass, far larger than he could have imagined. Its thick, powerful body caught the dim light, muscles sliding smoothly beneath its scales as it moved slowly, completely indifferent to the man standing just a few steps away. No hissing, no sudden strikes. It simply ruled the space, as if it had always belonged there. Even in the most peaceful corners of the world, nature's giants can make a dramatic entrance. So, here's a question for you. Which of these massive snake encounters amazed you the most, or left you completely stunned? The gentle giant. On their first day deep in the Amazon, a team of wildlife experts received a jungle welcome they would never forget. While setting up cameras and checking equipment along the riverbank, everything suddenly fell silent. There, resting among the reeds, lay a massive green anaconda, its thick body unmistakably full. It had just swallowed a capybara, South America's largest rodent. The giant snake showed no aggression, no alarm, just calm observation as it digested. As the team watched from a safe distance, the anaconda began to move. One expert, knee-deep in the muddy water, held his breath as the enormous serpent glided past him, close enough to touch, yet completely uninterested in anything around it. Trapped by thick mud, the team could only watch as the snake slowly disappeared into the riverbank foliage. From the size of its swollen belly, one thing was certain. This gentle giant wasn't hunting. It was simply seeking a quiet, hidden spot to digest in peace. Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this showcase of incredible snake sightings, don't forget to like, share, and join the discussion. Stay curious, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next countdown.